it's been quite a while. I'm going to ask the interpreter to move a little bit so I have a little space. So, I must apologize right off the bat. Because, you know, Reverend Brian can attest to this. Sometimes we get into that prayerful mode of, this is what we're going to talk about. This is what the message of today is going to be. And then we tap into that internal GPS thing, that God positioning system thing, and it says, I need you to change a little bit. So, trust and believe that we're going to end up in the same destination, but we're going a slightly different route, if that's okay. Okay, I just want to make sure. Some people are like, no, you can't change up. So, well, they do. So, I want to start us off with a quiz, okay? So, I'm going to read something, and at the end of it, I want you to tell me what this has in common. Ready? Are we ready? Yes. Thank you. I need your answer. So, get over yourself. You are so full of yourself. She's so self-absorbed. He'll self-destruct if he keeps going at it the way he's going. He's traveling the world in order to find himself. She's on a quest of self-discovery. No one with an ounce of self-respect would behave that way. And then, the temple at Delphi, know thyself. And then our great friend Shakespeare, to thine own self be true, and it must follow as night the day. You cannot be false to anyone when you are true to yourself. What do all of these phrases have in common? Self. So I know today we were going to talk about what is the it in the Today we're going to, and like I said, we're going to end up in the same destination, but I want to talk about this self thing for a moment. So have any of you ever seen, like you've been in New York or somewhere, and you walk down the street and you saw someone on the corner with a microphone and they're asking questions like, can you name all of the planets in the solar system? Can you tell me who the current president is? Can you tell me, and they're asking us these questions. So I have a question for you. Suppose you're walking down the street and you see the person on the corner and they're saying, can you name 10 spiritual practices? Do you think the average, not we enlightened folks, do you think the average, don't laugh because you are. So do you think the average person would be able to name 10 spiritual practices? So I know that you can, so throw out, it's the teacher in me, you know I do this. Just because I ain't been here in a year, don't act like I'm new. Throw out a couple. Yoga, meditation, nature, that's 3. Prayer, affirmations, give me 2 more. Tai Chi, forgiveness, mindfulness. Okay. Great, and all are true, and what we know is that there are enough spiritual practice for as many fingerprints as we have. Because each and every, that's one of the great things about this teaching. Everyone has a separate, different, unique spiritual practice. So no 2 centers look exactly the same. No 2 ministers are exactly the same. Because this is not a cookie-cutter philosophy. It's a very personal, individual, and intimate teaching. Now, one of the spiritual practices I want to talk about today, going back to what we started with, what did I ask you? What did all those phrases have in common? Self. I want to talk about a spiritual practice that involves the self. And it's called selfless service. How we serve selflessly. But how do we serve selflessly when we're not sure what the self that we're talking about is? Because we have this odd, interesting duality, dichotomy, paradox, whatever it is, to find yourself. But don't be too full of yourself. So I'm trying to find me, but only half of me? Or is the me that I'm looking for, that I'm trying to find, that's not the self that we're talking about. So when we talk about selfless, what we're talking about is, how many of us as children went out for Halloween or something? How many of us as adults have gone to a masquerade party or something? And you know, Reverend Brian got his down. And you know, we put on a mask or we put on a disguise and we do this. And say that's Saturday. And then you come here on Sunday. Did you come here on Sunday still wearing the mask? Did you go to work on Monday still wearing the mask? No. So at some point you laid the mask down. But while you had it on, you were committed to whoever that, I'm I'm Johnny Depp. Like you were committed to whoever this mask, this persona, this false self, you were fully committed to whatever and whoever that was. Anybody in here a comic book fan? Anybody in here ever heard of Comic-Con or something like that? Okay, more hands go up. Thank you. Got scared there for a second. Now, if you've ever seen photos of these people at Comic-Con, they go all out. I mean, body paint, full Thor, wings, cape, like all out. They are committed to the role. Trekkies do the same thing. They put on their Spock ears and Klingon stuff and the full all out. But if they went to work that way on Monday, especially if they work in the government where Tracy works, chances are they would be escorted out. So at some point, that self is laid down. But here we are in culture and society that teaches us to pick up a false self. We're born, and depending on who you're born with, immediately your parents start painting walls pink or blue, which starts to program. Then they give, you didn't choose your name at birth. Oh, hey, what do you want to be called? I'd like to be named Raymont. That's your name then. And put it on the birth certificate. Like no one pops out with it like it doesn't happen. So parents give us our names. And then we live into the name, and we live into the reputation, and we live into what our parents, our teachers, our siblings, our community, or whoever expects us to be. But what if that's not who I want to be? There was a Whitney Houston special on, I don't remember what channel it was, recently, where they talked about how she lived, and if she had been able to live and love as she wanted to, she may not have died. And the idea was, as she's going through this, she had this common, often asked, can I just be me? Can you stop telling me what to sing and how to sing and what records to do? Can I just be me? Can you tell me how to stop wearing, I don't want to wear my hair that way. Can you just let me be me? But how many of us live our lives knowing who that me is? To be able to live it with the audacity of knowing that that me is the truest connective part of the I am. Not the name, because you move the name, Shakespeare said, by whatever name you call a rose is going to smell just as sweet. And I would venture to say, if I took your name away, you would still be the magnificent, beautiful people you are. If you take away the name, take away the job, take away the clothes, put on a different wardrobe, wear a different hat, you're still beautiful and magnificent because you are God showing up as itself in human form called you. That's the me, the self that we are seeking to discover. Not this thing. This thing, when at some point we are born and when we transition, there's this period in here that we call life. But what we know is there's only one life. And that life is God's life. And that life is my life now. That life can't end. So when people say, life is short and then you die. Really? Because sometimes what we do is we buy into and we collude with them. I hear what you're saying. We just affirmed it. We may not outright believe it, but we affirmed it. Earlier this morning, I was scrolling through Facebook, and there was a video of a father who posted a video apologizing for not standing up for his son who has Down syndrome. And he said, I got into this conversation with this guy, and this guy was explaining to the son, and telling the son, Down syndrome is it's an illness, and this and that, blah, 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 blah. And the father's like, I could have spoken up for my son. I could have explained what it is, but I didn't. How many times do we have friends or family that say something that this teaching does not affirm, and we nod? And every time we nod and we collude with that kind of thing, we are in essence picking up this false self that says, yes, Mom, you're right. Yes, Dad, I agree. Yes, that's what liberals are. Yes, that's what conservatives are. Yes, that. But that's not me. So when do we become selfless and be willing to take that off and then truly move forward and serve? Because what we talk about when we talk about service is it's serving of your time, your talents, and your... That's serving. Now, your treasure, because this is the funny thing, usually when we mention treasure, we automatically think, what?
Sugar white.
She said, what'd you say?
Yeah, I said sugar white.
We automatically think cash. But your treasure can be your smile. Your treasure can be your kindness in holding the door for someone, seeing someone struggling with their groceries, seeing someone in the grocery store who just, they're height challenged, who can't reach whatever that is, and you just keep on. Because we don't want to offend someone. We don't want to intrude, because I did it once, and the woman said, I don't need your help, so I don't do it again. How many of us have ever cooked grilled cheese or something in the oven and burned ourselves? Did you stop cooking? Oh, you didn't. So just because someone burns you, does that mean you give up serving? Just because, as Reverend Brian said, sure didn't get out that quiet in here, just because you may not be able to give financially the way you desire and want to, does that mean you let yourself be shut down? Does that mean you are going to be creative and find new ways to serve? Because the moment we lay down that self, there's no ego involved. And when we lay down the ego, we realize that every little thing we do matters in the life that is God's life. How many times have we heard, anybody here familiar with the secret or the law of attraction? How many times have we heard the phrase of, well, it doesn't matter to God whether it's a button or a mansion. Like, it doesn't matter. For God, God can attract, manifest, demonstrate whether it's a button or a billion-dollar mansion. It doesn't matter because God doesn't see size. Well, if that's true, then every little act of kindness has profound influence. See, it doesn't matter if you go to a very still pond and drop a tiny stone in the water. The ripples are still going to go wide and far. You don't have to take a boulder and slam it to change the world. You don't have to do these amazingly, I have to be Oprah in order to, no you don't. All you have to do is realize that you are the I am showing up in human form. And when we recognize that, then we hear that passage of the Bible where Jesus said, so check this out. Y'all frustrate me so much. When I was hungry, you didn't feed me. When I was naked, you didn't clothe me. Whoa, Yeshua, our beloved teacher and master, when did we ever do such a thing as that? When you saw them hungry and you didn't feed them, you did it to me. When you saw them naked and you didn't clothe them, you did it to me. When you saw them being treated unjustly and your mouth stayed shut, you did it to me. When you saw this happening, unkindness, injustice, and you did nothing, you did it to me. Every small act, everything matters when we step into that place of being selfless. Because when we can be selfless, lowercase s self, lowercase s self, then we are making room for capital S-E-L-F. That self is the I am. So when I say, hello, I am Ray, that's this speaking. Because that's not the fullness of who I am. It's what I'm called, it's what I live, it's what my parents, like that's how I'm recognized as Ray. But that's not who survives once this flesh is surrendered. The who that survives is this I am that is infinite. This I am that is eternal. We believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. Eternal goodness. How good are we being when we are selfless? Because when we are truly selfless, everything we do comes from that place of ultimate joy, love, and bliss. That working on the farm is no longer working on the farm to pick and harvest. It's now joy. That working in wherever it is, if it's Walmart, or if it's in the government, or wherever it is, when you can go in from this state of mind that says, I got this. I know who I am and I know what I am. And if I know who I am and I know what I am, I know what is mine to do in this place. Wherever that place is. If that place is your place of employment, I got this. I know what is mine to do. For however long I'm here, I ain't going to be here for so long. But for however long I'm here, I'm going to do what is mine to do. And if that's, I'm on the train. When I'm on the train, whatever is mine to do shows itself. And that may mean I see someone being ill-treated. I see no empty seats and someone standing, male or female. What is mine to do? There's I think it was an article, I don't remember exactly, of this gentleman, young guy, 21 years old, college student in Canada. And he gets on this bus, and he just got off of work, and he gets on this bus, and this guy walks over to him, and he asks, can I shake your hand? The young guy's like, that's cool. So he reaches out and shakes his hand. And you ever shook somebody's hand and it gets uncomfortably long? It's like, I think it's supposed to be 1, 2. And then the movement stops and it's just hold. And that's where it went. And the young guy didn't question it. He just, okay. And he sat down. And the guy stayed there holding his hand. And it's an older guy holding his hand. And then the guy leans on him. And then takes his hand and kisses his hand. And then he lays his head on him for the entire ride. And the young guy, 21-year-old guy, didn't say anything. He didn't stop it. He just felt, this is what is mine to do. Hold the space for this man. This isn't what the article said. This is what I read between the lines of what was going through him energetically and spiritually as this is happening. Because there was no rational reason why he should have done what he did. Everything in our culture says, oh, no, invasion of personal body space, get him off of me. And he stayed. He let the man kiss his hand. He let the man rest his head on his. We sit on the train and someone starts to doze and we start shifting and sliding. Knowing that if we move too far, they're going to fall on the ground. We're like, that ain't my business. We should go sleep on the train. But he stayed and let him lean. Ride is over, and the gentleman's family meet him at the entrance to the bus. And the guy is still with him. And they're like, thank you so much. This is our uncle. His name is Robert. He has cerebral palsy and he's deaf. And they saw the difference. And the conversation and everybody on the train was like, took pictures and they're like, this is the most beautiful thing we've ever seen. So they're gathering around and they tell the family. And they're like, we are so grateful because no one is this nice to him. And it scares us when he's on the train or the bus or out by himself because of how people can be. And yet this 21-year-old guy felt what was his to do and served in a selfless manner. He allowed the 21-year-old self, the young masculine self, to fade away for a moment. So that the true self could step in and say, I am not my brother's keeper. I am not my sister's keeper. I am my brother, and I am my sister, and I got you. And he comforted him. He didn't even know the man's story, and he comforted him. Are we willing to lay down that self in order to fully step forward into the true self of who and what we are? There's a gentleman by the name of, I'll do Raymont first. And he says, when we consciously incorporate the Spirit into our working lives, things change. Disgruntled employees mellow, customers are appreciative, the boss lightens up. Imagine that. When we change, they change. Co-workers are genial. A feeling of well-being infects the workplace, all because we have done the work within our own consciousness to allow Spirit to express itself as our working life, as our environment. One of the easiest ways to create a field of demonstration in our life is to activate our sense of blessing and gratitude for our life by serving others. Not always easy on the job, however, when we practice the principle of oneness on the job, and my adding, in life, family included, We easily come to see the divine at work in all ways, great and small. When we change, the environment around us must change. People around us must change. Yesterday, that's her, Tracy and I went to Gallaudet, and there's a deaf Buddhist monk there, deaf Zen Buddhist monk there named Ocean. And in sign language, one of the signs for let go is this, like you're connected, and then you let go, whether it's middle finger and thumb or index and thumb, but to let go. And he said, there's this idea that when we let go, we're releasing it. And then he said, there's a better sign to match the concept. Let go. If I am holding this idea of self, whoever Ray is, I'm holding it. And I let go. I still have it, but I'm gently embracing it. I'm gently welcoming it. I'm not trying to drop it. I'm not trying to be someone else. Because that's just replacing one mask for another mask. I'm trying to be like. I want to be like Mike. No. I want to be like the I am that I am. And in order to do that, I still hold Ray. Because I know that that is how the I am is expressing as me. Through me. With me. Out into the world. So what if we got to this point of seeing selfless, sacred service like a contagion? Like you can be infected with selflessness and be infected with sacred service. So that, like, you know, when it's flu season, that's what they call flu season. And people start sneezing and we run because we don't want to catch it. Because one, we think we can catch it, which is why we run from it. But that's a whole different topic. What if we could be contagious with love? That every person we see and every person that sees us sees the face of God. What if every person we touch and everyone who touches us feels the hand of God? What if every person that we hear and everyone who hears us hears the loving voice of God? What if that's how powerful we are, that we can change and transform our entire environment simply by serving one another? Simply by being willing to step into an act of service to another. And like I said, service shows up in many ways. Kindness, a kind word, a compliment. Also keeping in mind that when someone gives you a compliment, if you disregard it, it's unkind. They are blessing you. Receive it. Find that place in you, and I don't care what it is when they talk about, because this philosophy says you're not just magnificent, but that you are magnificence personified. You are the I am showing up in human form. So whatever we call God, Emma Curtis Hopkins was real famous for saying that my good is my God and my God is my good. They are synonymous, they are one and the same. And that whatever concept we have of God, or whatever concept we have of ourselves, is the same as the concept we have of God, or vice versa. So if we think of God as this anthropomorphic, mad Zeus-like, Odin-like, angry deity, and we are made in the image and likeness of it, then I now have reason to be angry and express whatever. But if I see God as love and kindness, not just loving, not just being kind, but that it is love itself, love and law, full and complete, then whatever that is, it has to also be showing up in some way here. Because it's not God and me. Even though for linguistic purposes we talk about, I am one with God. Well, then our minds try to grapple around, well, how exactly do I speak about it being the only thing there is, but I have to talk to her, but I know it's not her that I'm talking to, it's actually God, and it's not me talking to her, it's God talking to her. I'm confused. So yes, it's easy to go down the rabbit hole of, well, I don't know how to do this calculated thing with this philosophy. But yeah, you do. The fact that you're here says you know enough. If today was the last day, unless there's somebody here who's never been here before, who doesn't know anything about this philosophy, you know enough to go out right now and change every area of your life. You know enough of this teaching. How many times has Reverend Brian said, So this is the Science of Mind textbook. This is the only part you need to really read. This is the part that gives the philosophy. The rest of this is just Holmes explaining these 4 pages. Because the book intimidates us. So the fact that he says, don't worry about reading all 4,698 pages. Read these 4 introductory chapters. That compared to and you will know and have enough. So we know enough. Question is, are we willing to now put feet to that knowing? Are we ready and willing to clothe the naked, feed the hungry, smile to those who need that smile that day? To actually eye contact with the cashier who clearly is not experiencing a great day. And realize that we can make them smile. We can, and it doesn't have to be right then. Because there have been times where I've gone to Target and the person was grumpy and they're like, I'm not going to smile no matter what you do. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And I come back like a week later and she comes up to me and she says, I'm so glad you were, because I went home and I thought about what you did and I had to laugh and I laughed the rest of the evening and it changed the way the rest of my day went. Had she not told me that, I wouldn't have known. So I don't care. I plant seeds. I don't need to see the thing grow. I trust and I believe. Because it's the law. What we place into the law must demonstrate, must manifest. So the invitation is that soon as service is done, go out and serve the world in whatever way you are called to do so. Let's treat it. Grounding ourselves in this moment, simply allowing ourselves to breathe and to be breathed. Knowing that in this moment, I could end this treatment simply by saying, Amen, I am thankful. Knowing that God is all there is, one power, one presence, one absolute, infinite love and law. And knowing that it is all there is, it must be right here, showing up in me, with me, and as everyone in this room as well. Knowing that all that God is, all that Source is, all that the thing itself is and can do is also what I can, what each of us can be called to do, be called to step forward into, be called to change and transform. So that when I see discord, I bring peace. The peace that knows, the peace that is, the peace that says, I am. And simply in knowing I am, I do what Yeshua did and calm the storm. I do what Yeshua did and raise the dead. Those who are dead in consciousness, ignorant and believing in racism and hatred, I bring life through my word. Because my word is not simply my word, it is the word of the I am, speaking through itself, about itself, back into the law of itself, fully ready, fully demonstrating, fully experienced. So with gratitude, I speak these words, once again, knowing that they are not simply mine, but they are the words of the I am, the words of the one mind, the thing itself. And with comfort and joy and confidence, I know that they are already showing up in the lives of all who hear these words, all who are on this street, all who are in this city, this state, and beyond, because the power that is God is everywhere, for it is all there is. I release these words, knowing it is so. And together we say, and so it is.